Right, so in the 6 years that AEW has existed for, there have been many famous incidents, from Brawl Out to Sammy Guevara and Andrade's backstage fight and beef online. There's been Britt Baker drama, there's been Tony Khan fearing for his life, and many incidents that have been talked about to death on this platform. But AEW has existed for so long now and had so many incidents that there are now forgotten AEW incidents that have kind of been shoved to the back and aren't talked about as much as obviously the main ones we all know and love. So that's what I'm here to do today. I'm here to talk about some of the forgotten AEW incidents, and basically some AEW incidents and drama and controversy that I know of that aren't really enough to make into full individual videos, and that there's maybe a chance you don't even remember or have never heard of. So like the video and subscribe, and let's get straight into it. If you aren't familiar with the wrestler known as Ultimo Guerrero, I funnily enough actually mentioned him in yesterday's video talking about MLW because he does work there. But Ultimo Guerrero is a veteran luchador, a long-time player of the game in Lucha Libre. He mainly wrestles for CMLL today, obviously also MLW as well, and he also did a match in AEW too. As on the 22nd of July 2024 Collision episode that was taped 2 days prior, he would challenge Kazuchika Okada for the AEW Continental title. It was a big time matchup, a huge Japanese star versus a huge Mexican star. I believe they'd never faced one-on-one before, so a huge way to do it. However, this match unfortunately didn't really end up delivering. It ended up being quite a slow, methodical, boring bout that never really hit the full gear and wasn't like the usual Okada big stakes work rate bouts that you'd come to expect from him. And the match has a solid 3.6 out of 10 rating on Cage Match, with many of the reviews saying that Guerrero seemed to be moving a little slower, and maybe there was something to do with his mask, as fans noticed that during the match Ultimo Guerrero seemed to be struggling to fit his mask on. And sure enough, Ultimo Guerrero himself would take to Facebook in a now translated Facebook post to talk about what took place in this match here and respond to fan concerns about the mask situation. As in this translated Facebook post, like I said, he essentially says that when he arrived to AEW, he was told that he would be wearing a mask in this match, which he wasn't planning on doing. And as a matter of fact, it seemed to be a last minute decision because this mask had to be made in an hour by an AEW worker who Ultimo Guerrero very gracefully shows respect to in this post here, but that shouldn't be a situation you find yourself in. Why on earth is that a last minute decision to have him wear a mask and put it together in an hour? Hopefully the mask maker got paid well, but it's made into an even more puzzling decision in your head when you find out that Ultimo Guerrero hasn't worn a mask in over a decade up until that point. Yeah, Ultimo Guerrero wrestling in a mask is very much an anomaly. He hasn't done it regularly in over a decade and usually wrestles without it. In that MLW show I watched in yesterday's video, he was not wearing a mask. So why AEW randomly made the decision to have him wear a mask for this instance and for this match against Okada here is really puzzling, and it really seems to affect the match and affects the work as well. A weird AEW incident for sure, but enjoy that one because we have a few more to talk about here, and from this point on, they're all fights. All of them are backstage fights, so enjoy! This right here is history. The first backstage fight to ever take place in AEW took place at the first ever All Out in 2019. This was the original Brawl Out in the year that AEW formed. And it was a brawl that took place between two OG AEW Women's Division signings, both of whom are no longer with AEW and are both from the UK, those being Sadie Gibbs and Bea Priestley, who you might remember as Blair Davenport in WWE. Sadie Gibbs and Bea Priestley were both signed to the AEW Women's Division in 2019, the formation year of AEW. Like I said, they were OG signings of the company. Both came with extensive independent wrestling backgrounds, having done their work in the UK and also in Japan. And Sadie Gibbs actually in 2019, before getting signed to AEW, got into some drama with Will Ospreay when she left a Japanese tour early due to personal reasons. It led to a subtweet from Will Ospreay, and then an argument on social media ensued. 2019 Brit Res, what can I say? Will Ospreay at that time was dating Bea Priestley. Bea Priestley and Sadie Gibbs both got signed to AEW shortly thereafter. Do you see where this is going? And yeah, AEW All Out 2019 would be the first time that both were present at an AEW show, and both of them were working in the Women's Casino Battle Royal. And in that match, it could very much be seen that the two were stiffing each other and sandbagging and no-selling each other the entire match. And sure enough, it came out shortly afterwards that Sadie Gibbs and Bea Priestley did get into a backstage altercation. Reports and rumors suggested at the time that Sadie Gibbs threw a punch at Bea Priestley, and there was a big scuffle and pull apart, and many other versions of the story as well. Regardless, it didn't seem as though either women were suspended or punished for this incident. And Bea Priestley months later would do an interview where she said the entire altercation was blown out of proportion and herself and Sadie Gibbs had handled it. And also a couple of years later, it emerged that Will Ospreay and Sadie Gibbs had also buried the hatchet too, so that's good to hear, I guess, as well. But Bea Priestley and Sadie Gibbs were both released from AEW in 2020, with Sadie Gibbs at first retiring from wrestling, but she has now in the last couple of years returned back. And Bea Priestley would go to WWE as Blair Davenport, but this year was released from WWE and is now back working under the name of Bea Priestley. But that right there is history, the original Brawl Out and the first AEW backstage fight, and the first in that year that AEW formed, but it also wasn't the only one. Yeah, this next one is maybe one of the most random AEW incidents of all time, but is maybe one of the funniest and my favourite AEW stories out there. It involves current AEW commentator Excalibur and AEW original signing Jimmy Havoc, who was a controversial wrestler and name in his own right, and we'll talk about why afterwards. But this also took place in 2019, taking place in November of 2019 apparently, as Jimmy Havoc and Excalibur would find themselves in an altercation at a Jimmy's Famous Seafood at Tony Schiavone's birthday. No, I'm not kidding, this is a true story. AEW roster members were celebrating Tony Schiavone's birthday at a Jimmy's Famous Seafood. Tony Schiavone was there, Tony Khan was there, and of course, Excalibur and Jimmy Havoc, our two culprits, were there as well. Apparently, Jimmy Havoc got drunk, he got into a verbal altercation and spat with Excalibur. He then tried to throw a punch, but Excalibur caught it and then put him into a chokehold and choked him out before security broke them up and pulled them apart, with Jimmy Havoc apparently being fuming with rage and being kicked out of the restaurant and escorted out by security. Yeah, maybe one of the most random things I've ever heard, and guys, I'm not gonna lie, maybe getting into a fight in front of your boss at a long-time commentary veteran's birthday party in the first year of your new employer isn't the best idea, but luckily for them, Tony Khan kind of seemed to laugh it off when asked about it in an interview.
Tony, there was a report that Jimmy Havoc and Excalibur got into a fight in front of you on Thursday. Anything you can comment on?
I wouldn't call it a fight, but like it's I've seen a lot worse in I was in the world of football, both in England and the NFL. I've seen a lot worse, and I saw a lot worse tonight. But yeah, they scrapped around. But the next that was cool. It was cool. It was cool yesterday. It's cool today. It's fine.
Tony, will that count towards Excalibur's record in AEW?
I wouldn't. It would be a draw, I think, if we're bad at best. But
Yeah, this last one is a very random one with some very random names involved, and it's from an incident going back to 2020 that somehow carried all the way over to a GCW show this year, 5 years later. How, you ask? Let me explain. So earlier this year, there was a GCW show called GCW Up All Night. It took place on January 31st, and it featured a real-life altercation between wrestlers Joey Janela and Dylan Bostic. And the reason we know that this altercation took place is because Dylan Bostic himself would post the video of it.
Hey! Hey, let's go. No. Come on, let's go. Come on. Let's respectability. Go.
Stop recording. Get the fuck out of the way. You're done, right? Hey. I did.
Pick him up, throw him out. Whoa, get the fuck out.
Get the fuck out of the way. Get the fuck
The video is great because everyone around seems really confused, including Megan Bain, who seems to think this is some kind of work or some kind of angle, but no, it's not. And you can see all the wrestlers going in to break up the fight, and apparently, according to reports, Calvin Tankman would take Dylan Bostic out the building himself. And yeah, the reason that this fight took place was because I believe it was back in 2020, Dylan Bostic made a post kind of complaining about some problem he had with AEW after doing some extra work for them, and he caught major heat for this because he posted it around the time that Brody Lee had passed away, and it was just the wrong time to post something like that. The post is deleted, but you can still see the replies from wrestlers such as Britt Baker, who responded to him alluding to his tweets, and Dylan Bostic would tweet out alleged DMs from Joey Janela, who knows if these are real or not, where Joey calls him a pussy and says it's on site and that they're going to fight somewhere when he sees them, but he doesn't get booked anywhere. And then obviously in big 2025, we would see that altercation finally take place at a random GCW event. And funnily enough, this isn't the only time that Joey Janela has got into a real life fight with another wrestler. He got into a real life fight with Enzo Amore, infamously at a Blink-182 concert, and the video that came out of the fight is just absolutely awful.
I'll whoop his ass, boy. I'll whoop your drunk ass, boy. Pussy boy, I ain't hear that. Get your guy, dude. Get your guy, dude. Get your guy. He's good. Get your guy. He's good.
Come on.
Get his good.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing really, happens at all, and apparently afterwards, Enzo Amore, approached Joey Janela the next time he saw him and says how they did such a great job and how they made themselves viral out of this moment, but Joey was like, nah, bro, I was drunk and thought we were actually fighting. But yeah, that's about all I can think of here for certain AEW incidents that kind of went under the radar and kind of got lost into time and mixed in the shuffle with all the big-time AEW incidents, like all the CM Punk stuff, obviously. If you can think of any more, then leave them down below, and if you want to see me do another video talking about more of some of the more niche AEW incidents that can't really get their own video to talk about, then let me know in the comments down below what you want me to talk about, and suggest any that I may have missed here. Like the video if you enjoyed, subscribe, notifications on for the channel so you never miss a video on it, and I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye, and keep on rolling. Happy Halloween!